for my diorama, I did a little shadow box thing. So when the boat moves, and then the hippies peace sign, and then this little button on the article are all going to play sounds just for reference. So yeah.
One of the greatest forces that made Miller Place what it is today was the glacier that formed Long Island. Without the North Shore beaches and Miller Place's proximity to the Mount Sinai Harbor, the town would be very different than it is today. The use of land, and the use of the Long Island Sound, were huge in the development of both Miller Place and Mount Sinai. During the 18th century, Miller Place produced livestock, grains, and orchard crops, all of which were shipped to the New York City market in coasting vessels sailing out from Mount Sinai Harbor. Late in the 19th century, Miller Place became a major source of cordwood fuel to supply the heating needs of a growing New York City. Similarly to the livestock and crop, hardwood was also transported by the Mount Sinai Harbor. At this time, the needs of New York City were a huge force in driving the Miller Place economy.
So I just realized that I actually use Mount Sinai Harbor and Long Island Sound interchangeably, and I think I do it a lot more throughout the other audios, but the Mount Sinai Harbor is just a little harbor that is off the Long Island Sound, so pretty much the same thing, just to clarify if there's any confusion. And additionally, what I found out about the shipping that I thought was interesting was that there's a lot of rock walls along one of the roads in my town, and apparently when we would ship out our goods to New York City, they would send back rocks on the boat to hit the fixed shipping weight. So the rocks were then taken by Miller Place community members and used to create these walls. So I thought that was kind of cool because I always saw them, but I had no idea that they had that significance to them.
Tourism was a driving force of the Miller Place economy. New York City dwellers used the town as a summer retreat. They wanted an escape from the city life for a cabin in the woods field that overlooked the Long Island Sound. Because of this, numerous summer cottages were built, some of which being in the Chandler estate. Numerous blogs of people who in fact lived in these cottages brought attention to the fact that although it used to be a site for international celebrities, it eventually evolved into a place for lowlifes and hippies. Shortly after, the cottages burnt down and the land was bought out for $500,000 in 1997, and then sold to Suffolk County for $5 million. 3 years later, this triggered a land sale fraud case. But regardless, Suffolk County bought the property to preserve it from development. However, you would never know that it is county park land. There's no signage at all. It's overgrown and rarely used. This land was a crucial part of Miller Place's development. It overlooked the Sound, which was a critical shipping port, and it housed tourists who drove town development, both of which created the town's early community. Yet you would never know.
So these sticks that I used to make the little cottage in the woods are actually from the Chandler estate, and then I used light to make a little bit of fire, and then this is Marilyn Monroe and Arthur Miller. They were two celebrities that were well known, that would just visit the cottages very often. So Mr. Chandler originally owned the cottages when the celebrities would come, but then he ended up dying, and the wife felt bad for people who were on unemployment and people who didn't know what they were doing with their lives, so she just kept taking in all these people. They didn't really care for the place that much, and at the time it was just a fire hazard. Everything was made of wood and fabric, so eventually it all lit up. And if you go hiking in those woods, you actually could see the bottom construction that was cement. It's still there, so I think that's really cool. And then, so I moved to Miller Place when I was young, and I've been here for almost 17 years now. And something that always stuck out to me was the drug use in the community. I genuinely wanted to find the root of it during this project, and I hypothesized that it could have stemmed from the town being a summer party retreat back in the day that took the likes of many celebrities, Marilyn Monroe being one of them, who actually did overdose when she died, and eventually hippies. So I did dig deep to find connections, but I definitely fell short of discovering any information regarding the drug use in my town. I found this really surprising because of how prevalent it is, but the only information I could find were about the ministries, hope houses, and rehab facilities that are in my town and the surrounding areas, so there's no history, no statistics, no nothing on it, so couldn't really form those connections.
Today, Miller Place is part of the Miller Place Historic District and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1976. This meaning that there are members of the Miller Place Historic Society, who attend any and every type of town meeting and have a large say in what gets done on the land. These members are proudly committed to continuing the work of their founding members. To promote and encourage historical research, to share this knowledge, to gain a greater understanding and appreciation for the rich history of Miller Place and to ensure that architectural and historic treasures remain cornerstones of the community.
And that's it for the sounds. Another thing I just wanted to point out is that these articles are actually from like the early 1900s. I found that Ancestry.com has a segment to it that is all old newspaper articles that you could search by date, by place, like anything you want to search really. So I found that cool because these were actually in the newspapers back in the day. Yep, that's it.